Right, it's time to get your white balance sorted out. And you might think, why bother? Auto white balance is brilliant. Well, 3 reasons you need to do this. The first reason is if you don't, you'll struggle with consistency in your studio photography. Secondly is the wrong white balance can change the perception of the exposure. And thirdly, if you don't get your white balance right, you could end up looking like this, especially if you have a very strong single tone color in your photos. And today, that's going to be red. But I don't think there's enough red, so you know when you buy something on the internet and you think it's going to be a different size to what you end up with? I'm going to have a go at this. Let's get a light set, let's get a model in, let's get shooting. Let's do that again. To help me out today, I've got the amazing Chloe. And as you can see, we have got something with, well, quite a lot of color. In fact, one color, red, and that might throw some problems into the works as we go through, but then that's what this video is all about. But before we get anywhere near worrying about the color in the camera, the first thing we actually need to do is worry about the color of the room lights. So Chloe, if you want to have a seat for me, let's do the most essential photo, which is always no flash, no picture. I'm going to go with my flashing speed of 250th of a second. I'm going to be at f5.6, ISO 200, the native ISO for my particular camera, and at those settings, no flash gives me no picture. And the reason that matters in here is because if the room lights are a different color to the flash, if I'm not ruling them out, they're going to mix with the flash and that's going to give me a color balance which I'm never going to correct. So that's one problem solved. Now the rim lights are taken care of, obviously I need to add in my own light, so let's quickly go through that. I've got a Flashpoint Explore 300 Pro as my main flash. It's in a 2 by 3 softbox with a grid. That's going to light Chloe, but it is quite a directional light and will leave me a few shadows. So to fill in those shadows, right at the back I have an Evolve 200 Pro from Flashpoint, and that's just going to put a little bit of light onto the back wall. It's going to bounce around the room and just fill in those shadows with just a little bit of light. That should mean I get a consistent color from these lights, and I could use auto white balance. The trouble with auto white balance is that isn't always consistent. I'm actually going to use a custom white balance. That means it'll always be the same for every single picture. But what custom white balance? Let's take a few test photos. Now the easiest way to work this out is to do some extremes. So let's start with maybe 3000K. Spoiler alert, this is the wrong setting, but it'll give us a good look at what's going on. Yeah, everything is definitely, well, not very red, is it? There's a weird blue color to Chloe's skin. So let's try the other extreme. I'm going to go to 9000K, which should be a much warmer white balance. And it really is. Now I actually don't mind that, but it's perhaps just a little bit too warm. So from years of experience in this studio, I know my best white balance for an even color is usually about 5200K. And it looks pretty much about right. In fact, it's good enough for me just to take pictures like that and be happy with the results, which is exactly what we're going to do. So Chloe, if you're ready, let's take a few photos like this. Here we go. Setting a custom white balance, even in a small home studio, just makes sense because the lights aren't moving, the color isn't changing. It's going to save me time when we get to post-production in a bit, but it also helps me now at the photography stage because I can stop worrying about the color and worry about the bigger, more important things, such as how am I going to make that giant red balloon look like it's floating in the air without filling it full of really expensive helium. Yeah, because if you don't see it in the final pictures, it doesn't matter how you got there. To be honest, that method works really well for most of the work I do in the studio. It's close enough, but there are times when I need more accuracy and more consistency in my white balance, and that's when I reach for this, which is the Color Checker Passport. Now this thing has a couple of different surfaces and we'll look at what they do in a second, but at its most basic level it has this, which is some grey cards. And these will allow me to get a very accurate reading of the white balance in this room. What we need to do is to put this in the light that's actually going to be lighting Chloe, and the easiest way to do that is, Chloe, can you hold that for me? And Chloe's going to hold it like that. She's not going to put her fingers on it. That's really important. And what is also important is the lights. So they are all set and I'm not going to change them. So I've got my Explore 300 on 1/4 power and my Evolve 200 on 1/16 power. If I start changing the lights around, then that can affect the white balance, and this is white balance critical. Once everything's in place, I'm going to photograph that in the light that's going to light Chloe, and depending on your camera system, this method is going to change, but on my camera, I press and hold a button and it says one touch white balance. I fill the frame with the grey, take a photo, and it'll offer me a custom white balance. And I can just set that as my custom white balance, and that is now the white balance set. So we could stop there and take a few photos. But that's not the only surface this has, because there's another set of color swatches on the Color Checker Passport, and you'll find links to all the gear I'm using in the video description down below. But this one is a little bit different. Chloe, do you want to hold that again, just like that? This one gives me a little bit more accuracy, or an awful lot more accuracy, depending on how you use it. And the way you take a photo of this is just to include it in the picture. You don't have to fill the frame with this one. You just need to take a random photo at some point during your photo session, and this we can use to get not only the correct white balance, but also a mixture of white balances, warmer or cooler in post-processing. And I'll show you how to do that once we've taken a few photos. You'll notice we've changed the setup rather a lot. So Chloe has not one big balloon, but lots of small balloons all tied together. I've also got rid of some of the background because we're going to add a bit of a breeze to this. But for now, if you're ready, Chloe, let's take a few photos like this. Here we go. This wind machine may be noisy and old, but it does three important jobs here. The first one is to put some movement into Chloe's hair. It also blows the balloons. It makes it look like they're filled with helium when they're not. And most importantly, it's just really good fun. To be honest, it doesn't matter whether you set a custom white balance manually or use a grey card of some kind. The key is getting consistent colour in your studio pictures, because if you've got it even slightly wrong, you can change all of the images really easily. But changing each individual image one at a time, that's just going to make the post-processing far too long. The advantage of the Color Checker Passport is you can use it any time during your photo session in the same lighting, bring it into your post-processing first, and then set this up. Now, there's two parts to this. The lower half is for accurate color profile. I'll leave a link to a video if you want to find that in the video description down below. The top bit is what I'm interested in, which is really 10 different white cards of different color temperatures. Actually 9, because these two with little bite marks are the same temperature. To really see how this works, let's just deliberately do this wrong. Let's say I did use auto white balance. Ooh, nasty. I'm going to get the eyedropper tool, the white balance tool, and just click it or drag in this middle one with a little bite mark out of it, and that's going to give me a natural neutral white balance, and that looks pretty good. But the advantage here is if I want to warm the tones up, I can actually use a warm tone or a cool tone, whatever takes your fancy. I actually liked it slightly warm, but not that much, so I can go for something in the middle. Once you've done that, just click done. You don't have to open that image, it is just done. And then you can open up the rest of your images, either one at a time or all together. I've got 3 random images here, and let's see, let's go for the one in the middle because it fills the screen. I'll press Control A, Command A to select all of my images, and I want all of the images to get the same effect as I've just used. So I'll apply the previous settings, and now without changing anything else, just changing the white balance to something that looks better and is more consistent, I've got a really good base for the rest of my editing process. If you've made it this far into the video and you're still thinking to yourself, you know what, auto white balance, it's not that bad, then there's a chance that your scenes have quite a wide range of colors, because the more limited you make your color range, then the more auto white balance is going to fail. And let's face it, everything in the studio you've set manually, so why not set the white balance manually as well? Now, if you've enjoyed this video, click the like button, leave me a comment, click on the bell icon, and of course, the subscribe button. And if you just came here because you like the thumbnail with the red background, then why not check out this video from Adorama, which is Lindsay Adler taking you through how she does red in her studio. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.